My name is Nick Benny. I'm a therapist here at the Andrew Center. What you're about to see is a part of a series of videos that I'm doing where I interview different staff here in order to learn and show what it is that we do at the Andrew Center. We have a lot of wonderful, dedicated people working here, and I'm excited for you to be introduced to some of them. These videos can be used by clients, by staff, by community members, really anyone that is interested in learning more about the different ways that we try to serve our community. I hope you enjoy this video, and please see the other videos in this series to learn more. Thank you.
So my name is Hannah Hernandez. I am a continuity of care coordinator here at the Andrew Center.
Okay, continuity of care coordinator. Before we get too far into that, if you could tell me what your education level is, what it takes to be in that position.
So I graduated from UT Tyler with my double honors in psychology, and then pretty fresh out of college, I applied for this job and thankfully got it.
Okay, so there's a bachelor's level position.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So continuity of care coordinator, that's a lot of words. So how would you define that? Make it easy for us to understand what that means.
Okay, so I am pretty much the liaison for the Andrew Center to every state hospital in the state of Texas, as well as the intake person that does get state hospital discharge clients into services with the Andrew Center.
Okay, so I need to be hospitalized for some mental health reasons. Maybe I'm having a psychotic episode and then I'm getting ready to come out. You're going to be the person that helps set me up with services moving forward. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess that being said, that sounds like it could be a lot. I mean, the liaison for every state hospital in Texas, how many are there?
I'm not quite sure exactly how many there are off the top of my head. I know I'm in regular contact with at least 6 or 7. At least once a week I hear from each one.
At least 6 or 7. You're dealing with at least one person from each coming out, at least.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, sometimes it's about 10 or 12.
Okay. As with all things, there are seasons, and sometimes there's more and sometimes less. Okay. What would you say an average day in the life of a or continuity of care worker is?
So normally I'll get to work. I will generally, if I have aftercare appointments that day, I will request all the paperwork from the hospital, get that all entered into the system to get ready for the appointment. I have the fortunate luck of being able to drive to all the clinics and getting to see everyone there and then meeting everyone in their community, doing the aftercare appointment, which is like consisting of registering the clients with services and then getting them set up with a provider and a case manager. And then after that, doing notes for all the appointments, documenting what happened for that appointment. And then on days that I don't have appointments, I'm in regular contact with the hospital or all the hospitals and just getting updates on all of our clients.
So sometimes I imagine it's not just people fresh off the streets that are going into hospitals, but current Andrew Center clients that go in.
Oh, yeah.
How is the process different for those folks?
So if one of our current clients goes into the hospital, what happens is I still keep in contact with the hospital about that client while they're hospitalized. Once they're ready for discharge from the hospital, I get to set them up with their case manager. I still have to enter in all their paperwork and everything, but at that point, their case manager takes over the aftercare process.
Okay. So I'm sure you're too humble to say this, but I imagine your position is pretty important in making sure that folks don't fall through the cracks.
I would like to think so.
Yeah. Because I imagine it could be easy. Folks are coming out of the hospital, and that's the time they really need to be set up with kind of long-term ongoing care, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so if people don't show up, I get to go do home visits and see if I can find them, and just make sure that we're trying our best to get them into services. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if they don't show up for their first intake or first case management appointment, you're going to go out and figure out if everything's okay and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a lot of responsibility, and I'm glad that we have someone like you that's doing that.
Oh, well, thank you.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, you've been doing this job for a while now.
Yes, 2 years almost.
2 years now. What would you say you found to be the best part of this job?
I think it would be the flexibility of it, not like schedule wise, but being able to go to all the clinics. That's my favorite part of the job. And then being able to manage my own time, because I came from not being able to do that and coming into a job that I'm able to do that. It gives you a bit of freedom, but also a sense of responsibility that this is something that needs to be done. And that's fulfilling for me to be able to manage my time and make sure I'm doing it correctly.
Mm-hmm. So that if someone were to move into a position like yours, that's, I imagine, pretty important. Is like there's not probably a boss that's right over you telling, all right, you need to go here and go here and go here. It's very much up to you to make sure you're doing what you need to be doing.
Yes, which I thoroughly enjoy, being able to work off my own knowledge and being able to manage my time and make sure that I'm doing it effectively, not having someone telling me I need to.
Yes. So there's a big sense of freedom there. And like you said, another thing you enjoy is kind of being able to stretch the legs and visit the other clinics.
Yeah.
And who is it that you're visiting at the other clinics? Is it the new clients that you're visiting there?
Yeah, I get to go see the new clients. It's really nice seeing them face to face, especially coming out of COVID. It was really nice to be able to see people again. And then also just getting to see coworkers that if I was just sitting in my office all day, I would only know the people here in Canton, but getting to go to all the other counties, I get to meet, or I've gotten to meet everyone and get to know all my other coworkers that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was going to say, to be specific, when we're talking about other clinics, different Andrew centers, there are several kind of satellite offices. And so you're based out of the Canton office, but you have to go visit the other ones if a client discharges from UT Health Northeast, which is North Tyler. They might come to the Tyler office and you have to visit them there.
Yeah, or to Emory or Mineola.
or Henderson County.
Yes.
Any of those. Okay. So we talked about the best part of the job. So I guess kind of the flip side of that, I mean, you could choose to answer what you feel like the worst part of the job is, or maybe even what do you feel like you weren't prepared for, or what they don't really tell you about, like what to expect.
I think the one thing that I didn't expect when I learned how to do this job was that procedures and just general things with the Andrew Center changes pretty often, and having to stay on top of it, learn how to adapt to that, and learn how to do things differently on a constant basis.
Yeah, so that is definitely something that I've heard from another one of these interviews, is that in the mental health world, policies and procedures are changing all the time. So you have to be, like I said, flexible enough to kind of keep up with the changes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get left behind, so to speak. All right. I'm just being mindful of our time and kind of looking at anything else I might have asked for. I guess if you could give us an idea of what really happens in those aftercare appointments when you're sitting with clients, like what are you going over with them?
So how they generally go along the same process every time. What happens is I'll, go get them from the front. We'll go back, just see how they're doing now that they're out of the hospital. Just asking them how they're doing. Like, are they having any suicidal, homicidal thoughts? Just making sure that nothing, like they're not in crisis again. If they're doing good and they want to get into services with the Andrews Center, I will get them registered, which is registration, consent for services, a financial assessment. After all that's done, I get to do the TRR with them and go over everything, like what their needs are going to be, which, gives us their level of care so that I can assign them with the appropriate case manager. And then once that's set up, I get them set up with the doctor.
Okay, so that sounds pretty involved. So let me go through that. So you do the registration, which is like the first thing through the door, paperwork, probably like addresses and fees and that sort of thing. And then the TR&R. Now I think that's the state assessment, correct?
Yeah.
And based off of how they answer that determines how intense their needs are, I guess we'd say.
Yeah, and go anywhere from, level of care 1 to level of care 4, which is our highest level of care, where
The
they
most
need really
intensive
case management.
Okay. And yeah, so you help with that process and then get them kind of moving along in the process.
Yes.
Now, do you see any folks on an ongoing basis?
Yeah. I have quite a few, well, I wouldn't say quite a few individuals that are not good about following up with their doctor or case management appointments. So they never fully get into Andrews Center services before they go back into the hospital. It's only 1 or 2 people that I have that happen quite often. Normally people are pretty good about following up, but you always have the 1 or 2 that aren't good at it.
Sure. So you have some frequent flyers that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
But would it be fair to say that you don't have like an ongoing caseload? Like your caseload is always changing? Yeah.
I'm not like regular case management where they have X, Y, Z number of clients. Mine varies month to month. We can have anywhere from 25 people who come through a month upwards to like 50 to 60 a month.
So that's like the top end that you might see in a month is like 50 or 60.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you ever go into the hospitals themselves?
I was going into the hospital pre-COVID. Now they're requiring testing, so I'm not. So how we've kind of circumvented that is I just call into treatment team meetings, which is just seeing how the clients are doing while they're at the hospital and like what their needs are going to be once they discharge. So I call into those meetings and I just send emails once a week asking for updates. But normally my job consists of going once a week up to the hospital. Specifically, mine is Terrell State Hospital, and meeting the clients before they discharge.
Okay, so they already have an idea of like, this is Hannah, this is who you're going to be talking to once you get out.
Yeah. which I prefer that because they're more likely to show up. Now that we're in COVID again, I don't get to go up there. So show rates aren't as good now that people don't get to meet me first. And so
I imagine that is really helpful for clients, though, to be able to while they're still in the hospital, be able to see like, okay, this is the person I'm going to be talking to on the outside once I discharge.
yeah.
Helps. I think it would help me feel a little bit safer about the process or more confident in the process.
It would help me too. And so I'll ask them just like how they're doing and ask them basic questions just to see how they're doing, like if they know what medication they're taking, like if they know where they're going to be going after they discharge from the hospital. And then I'll kind of give them a bit of a rundown of what their aftercare appointment's going to look like so that they're prepared for what's going to happen.
Yes. I think for all of us, it's really helpful to have an idea of what's happening or what's going to happen. And seems like you do a really good job at that.
I try.
All right. Well, Hannah, I think I really only have one question left, and I'll let you get back to your, I'm sure, busy day. So, like we said, this is being filmed so that students may potentially have an idea of what it means to do your job and might be interested in that, whether with the Andrews Center or somewhere else. So what's one tip that you might give for someone who thinks they might want to work continuity of care?
I think my tip would be learn to be flexible. Learn to not rely on other people to tell you what to do because they're not going to. It's going to be your fault if you forget to do something or you forget to go to your appointments. It's really about being able to manage yourself and not have to rely on someone else to manage you. Yeah.
So being honest with yourself about like, if I feel like I need a lot of supervision in my day to day, then this might not be the best position for me.
Yeah, because I hardly hear from my supervisor. Like, I hear from her, but it's not, hey, are you doing what you need to do? It's mainly just like, hey, how are you doing? And that's it. Which I enjoy being able to manage myself and knowing that I'm competent enough to do my job and no one has to look over my shoulder.
Absolutely. And as far as the being flexible, I can't tell you how often throughout these interviews I've heard that if you want to do well in mental health services, you have to have some flexibility to you.
Oh, yes.
You're not going to make it without that.
You really aren't. If I was not able to be flexible, I would not make it in this job at all.
For sure. And I think the same goes for all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated the opportunity to get to know a bit about what it means to be a continuity of care worker and how important that is to making sure that, like we said, folks don't fall through the cracks and that people get the services that they need fresh out of the hospitals.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Hannah, you have a great day, and I'm going to let you go.